Hello, welcome to Foundation Facts with Sean Worthington.
Do you dread calling home improvement companies to get estimates because you do not want to sit through another 2 hour long high pressure presentation? And you do not want to invite another salesman into your home who will not leave no matter how many hints you drop? The truth is, those aren't just socially inept salesmen. Those salesmen are trained to do that, and they're motivated to do that. I'm Sean Worthington, owner of Worthington Foundation Authority and president of the Basement Health Association. And I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain about how most of the large national home improvement companies operate. So there are multiple issues to address in how these presentations happen. One is, how do they come up with their prices? Two, why do they sit there forever and never take the hint that you're done and you're ready to pack it up, think it over, and call them back when you're ready? Well, in order to understand why they do this, you have to understand how their business is structured. Most of the large national home improvement companies are all structured the same way from the sales side. If that salesman does not leave your house with a signed contract and a deposit, he will not get the commission. Even if you love him and you call back the next morning and say, man, that guy was great, we're ready to sign up with you, he still does not get that commission. If he didn't sign it on the spot, he gets nothing. That's how most of those large corporations are structured. Pretty cutthroat. Doesn't seem very fair. It's not the way most of the locally owned companies operate, but most of the national companies still operate this way. So he's going to stay in that seat as long as he can, however long it takes for him to get a contract and a check. He'll talk to you all night long about everything and anything. He'll talk to you about your pets, your children, the Eagles. It doesn't matter. He's going to keep talking and try and get you to keep talking until you get worn down, you're tired, and you're ready to finally sign a contract, and then he'll leave. But the other question is about pricing. How do they come up with their prices? So most of the national chains work on what's called par selling. The Reader's Digest version is this. Par selling means if I'm the sales manager or the owner of the big national company, I'm going to tell my salespeople that for a given size job, you have to sell it for at least, let's say, $10,000, just for the illustration's sake. And if you sell it for $10,000, you'll get a 10% commission. But if you sell that same job, the same exact work, same scope, for $12,000, then I'll give you 10% of the original $10,000, and then I'll give you 25% of the extra $2,000. And it doesn't stop there. They set tiers. They say, okay, now if you take that same exact job, that same scope, and you sell it for $15,000, then you get 10% of the original $10,000. You get 25% of the next $2,000, and you'll get 50% of the next $3,000. And the tiers continue to grow and grow. So as a salesman in that company, in that structure, I'm motivated. I have all the motivation in the world to look at you as a homeowner and say, how much do I think I can get these people for? I'm looking at your cars, I'm looking at your clothes, I'm looking at the things around your house. Are they nice? Are they fancy? Are they expensive? How high can I go? Because the higher I go, the more money I make. Doesn't really seem like the most fair or honest way to come up with pricing, does it? And no matter what company you call, you should always ask to see a price list so that you can see how they came up with their pricing. So let's go back and recap. In that example, for the same scope of work, the same amount of work, the same job, at $10,000, the salesman would have made a $1,000 commission. At $12,000, the salesman would have made $1,500 commission. And at $15,000, the salesman would have made $3,000 commission. So that salesman is naturally motivated to push that price as high as possible, because it's not just a incremental increase in his pay, it is an exponential increase in his pay. Now that model is the same reason why there's this other phenomena you'll see with these high pressure sales presentations. It's called the drop. Salesmen from these companies who work on this structure will always start out very high, insanely high prices. And they start out that way fully expecting not to get that price, but they want to gauge your reaction. So if they start out at $60,000 and you don't blink, well, then they think, oh, okay, I may be able to get a pretty decent price out of this. But if they start at 60,000 and you drop on the floor, then they realize, okay, there's no way we're getting top money out of this. So I'm going to have to adjust my approach. So what tends to happen is let's take the same $10,000 job, the same scope, let's call it a French drain and a sump pump, right? Basic system. And they'll start at something crazy like $50,000. And then they're going to let you sit on that for a little while. They're going to go talk about other stuff. Maybe talk about, small talk, or maybe talk about different specific technical stuff that they saw in the basement or around the yard. But what they're really trying to do is get you to chew on that $50,000 price. And then later they're going to come in and they're going to drop it. But they're going to give you a reason for why they're dropping it. They're going to say something like, well, we just finished up a commercial job near you and we have leftover materials. Let me call my manager, maybe see if there's something we can do. Or they may say something like, hey, we've got a job right around the corner from you that we're probably going to be finishing up at the end of this week. If we can schedule you and get you in quickly, maybe we can work with you on price. Let me call my manager and see what I can do. And more often than not, they're intentionally walking outside or downstairs, leaving you alone while they call their manager so that you can wrestle with that price. Because what they know is if you can even think about it at the high price, they're going to walk back in and give you a lower price that's going to make you go, oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about it at the higher price. Now you're giving me a lower price. Sure, let's go. It is pure sales tactic. They're not even calling their manager. They're not. They're checking their voicemail. They're calling their wife at home or checking in on their kids. They are not calling their manager. So then they come back in and say, well, tell you what, I talked with my manager. He said, look, as long as you sign up tonight, instead of 50, we can do it for you for 30. That's an enormous drop, right? And that's why we call it the drop, right? It's a huge, huge discount. And even at 30, remember, we were talking about a $10,000 project, right? So even at 30, they're getting a ridiculous amount of money. But that's how these companies are structured. And guess what? The successful salesmen of these companies are very, very good at doing this. Like, you would think nobody would be dumb enough to fall for it, right? But no, they don't make it obvious. They sound and make you feel like these are good, honest, genuine people. And all the while, they're taking you for a ride.